the United States. Very small, very cool looking car. Mr. Honda had his hands in working with this car. But this is the first, I'm going to walk fast and talk fast. This is the first car sold by Honda in the United States. It's the N600. And here is the Z600 Coupe.
I remember.
And frankly speaking, these cars didn't put Honda on the map. The car that put Honda on the map is this car. And we happened to introduce this car, you know, all of you are too young.
No.
Hi, did you guys just arrive? Hi, just under, we've only got about 10 more minutes. I'm Kurt from Honda, okay? Welcome. So I was just explaining, these were the two first cars from Honda in 1970. They didn't sell very well. This car was introduced in 1973. It's the Civics CVCC. And this car met the clean air standards without a catalytic converter, and that was a big deal. And it also came out in 73, and in 1974, and none of you were born, was the Arab oil embargo. And there were these massive lines for gasoline. And Honda came out with this and had this car on sale in 74, and we sold hundreds and hundreds of thousands of these. And all of a sudden, the big three manufacturers are going, this Honda, you know, might be a viable automaker. And then Honda came out with the 76 Accord right here. And you know, if you listen to the solid door, it was like a big, heavy Cadillac store. It had all sorts of wonderful features. It was a 4-cylinder engine. It got great fuel economy. And it was a premium small car. And the small cars that were sold in the United States at this time had terrible 4-cylinder engines. They were rough and not very nice and slow. And Honda comes out with this car, and it was a big success.
This is the one that Road and Track did a review. They just raved.
Raved about it. These are early Civic wagons here. This is the first Accord we started manufacturing in Ohio. We started manufacturing in 81. This is an 83 Accord, but it looks identical to the one we started. So this was a big deal and a really gutsy move by Honda to make cars in the United States. None of the other automakers, other than the big three, were making cars in the US, and everyone said to Honda, you guys are nuts. The American workforce is terrible. You're going to have lousy quality cars. And we started building these, and we found out American workers are wonderful. They're terrific. The problem is management and unions and lots of other issues. But our quality of the cars that we had coming out of Ohio were outstanding. And now almost all Hondas, all Acuras, are built in the United States or in Canada. Almost nothing comes from Japan anymore. This was an 86 Accord, and it had this low hood line with the pop-up headlights, and great selling car. This is the long Civic roof line. It's called the Civic SI, and we sold these, and it was a very classic, iconic design. It's still kind of a cool looking car today. This is a later generation Civic. This is the first car designed, developed, and built in the United States. It was designed right down the street. It was developed in Ohio, and it was manufactured in Ohio. So it was the first pure Honda that was designed, developed, and built in America. S2000, our first Roadster, and this was introduced in 2000, and it was a wonderful, pure Roadster. It didn't have lots of fancy accessories on it. It was just a pure, wonderful, sporty, fast car. Not terribly expensive, but a huge amount of fun. We have 3 generations of Preludes here. I'm not going to go into anything, but look at how wide this car is and how low it is. So this was Honda's first sporty car. Up until now, none of the Hondas were sporty. So we came out with this in 79, and it was a huge hit. And then we had the next generation Prelude, and that was even a bigger success. And then the last generation Prelude. Stopping right here, this was the first vehicle sold by Honda in the United States. It was a 1959 Super Cup. So in these days, in 59, the motorcycles that were being sold were big Harley Davidsons and BSAs and Triumphs, and Honda comes out with this little kind of easy to ride, very inviting motorcycle. We had it in red and white, and Honda has sold almost 90 million of these worldwide. It never changed I mean, it's tweaked the design, but it's bulletproof, and it changed the image of motorcycling in the United States. And we advertised, and we showed women riding these, and men with ties, and it made motorcycling appealing. And then Honda added model after model after model, and Honda became the biggest motorcycle manufacturer in the world. This was our first corporate headquarters, a mock-up of it from Pico Boulevard, 4077 Pico Boulevard. In this building, if you Google Earth 4077 Pico, you will see this exact building is still there. It's got the same downspouts. It's got the same overhead door. It's now a Chinese acupuncture store. A couple of late arrivers. Huh? Well, hurry up and join the troops, because I'm talking fast, because we're about to close down. Some early race cars here. And this is a big deal. We announced this car in '93 that Honda was going to go Indy car racing. And everyone said, little Honda is going to go Indy car racing against the big boys? And so we had a press conference in '93 and showed this to the press, and Bobby Rahal was the test driver. And then in '94 we started racing, and we did terrible. Bobby Rahal couldn't even qualify for the first Indy 500. And then the following year we did better, and the year after that we won almost every single race, and we dominated IndyCar racing. Okay, come on, you guys. A lot of racing cars along here. This is the last year. You just missed it. They just drove out the first year NSX. But this car, huh? The one you just saw drive out?
There was a red one kind of parked behind the building.
Yes, they're loading that up.
Yeah.
It was here 2 seconds ago. This is the last one, but the original one changed the opinion of Honda and Acura globally, because this car has more technology in it, and this was an amazing vehicle to build in 1990. We first introduced this car with titanium connecting rods and all aluminum body and mid-engine design, and I could go on and on of the engineering innovations in this car. And Ferrari saw this car and went, holy, you know what? And they were selling cars that weren't very driver friendly. You could give this car to your mother and she could drive it home. It was that easy to drive, and it's a joy to drive. This is our hydrogen-powered fuel cell car. This is our most recent one. We've just discontinued leasing this to customers in Southern California this year. And if you go to the LA Auto Show, you'll see the new car that's replacing this. This has got hydrogen tanks. It's an electric vehicle, 0 emissions, and it drives wonderfully. It's a handsome automobile. We've got some CRXs in the corner there. They're kind of iconic, fun cars. They were introduced in the early '80s. Our first electric car had lead acid batteries, didn't have much range, and it didn't sell terribly well. Had a 50-mile range. This is one of the later Civics, and it's very much an iconic car. This is the Type R Integra. Very high performing, very inexpensive, and you can sell this car for far more than what it sold for originally. It's worth quite a bit of money. Our first fuel cell car here, our first hybrid in the United States, first hybrid sold in the United States before Toyota or anybody, was this right here. This got almost 70 miles per gallon, got 68 miles per gallon. And it's kind of a funky looking 2-seater, but it's kind of fun to drive. It's on my bucket list. The start of Acura started with this car right here, but you missed it. They just pulled it out. It was the Acura Integra, and this is the Acura Legend. And we launched Acura with the Integra and the Legend. You all are used to the name Integra, I mean with Acura and Infiniti and Lexus, but when we launched Acura, there wasn't an Infiniti, there wasn't a Lexus. We were the first Japanese brand to start a whole new car division. And it was a gutsy thing when you think about it. Here's Honda, we're known for small, fuel-efficient, family-oriented cars. And all of a sudden, we're gonna come out with a line of cars that have V6 engines and leather seats and kind of things that are kind of contradictory to the Honda image. And that's why we formed the whole new division, because we didn't want to mess up the Honda image, because everyone had such a fond feeling for the Honda brand and family-oriented and fuel-efficient. So we started the Acura line of cars, and it's been hugely successful. This was the Legend Coupe that became Car of the Year and huge sensation. It's also the first car ever sold by Honda with an airbag in it. And I can personally attest to that because at the press launch, Honda R&D had me sit in the driver's seat and they crossed a couple of wires and exploded the airbag so all the press standing around like you guys could get a picture of it. And they did that twice. Real quickly, because we're running out of time as we're about to close this joint. This is a Peanut. It's an auto show concept car. We really had no intention of selling it. It's a design study, and we kind of let our designers come up with kind of wild seating configurations, the drivers in front, the passengers in back. There's no motor in this. It's pure fiberglass mock-up. And a number of mock-ups there from various years of auto shows over the years. And design concepts are real helpful for automakers. It drives traffic to the car display, and it gives us a chance to kind of judge public opinion of vehicles and so forth. I'm just going to point out we've got lots of iconic motorcycles, but we don't have the time to go scope them out, and lots of engines from engines over the years. And I'll answer a couple of questions, and then we're going to have to close the place up. I'm so sorry you guys are so late, but I'm glad we caught you in time. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Oh.
So, did the Civic also not do well?
It did not do terribly well.